I have 3 books here by the author Shaun Tan. He's the author and illustrator, and his illustrations are very strange, very, very unusual. So this one here is called The Lost Thing, and it's about a character who collects bottle tops, so maybe an unusual person. So this might connect back to some of the other books that I've mentioned about someone finding their place in the world and noticing what's going on around them. So very unusual illustrations here. Lost Thing, Shaun Tan, and so on. And here's our character. And he notices things. He just notices things that don't fit or that are different. So he's telling us the story. So he says, this all happened a few summers ago. One rather ordinary day by the beach, not much was going on. I was, as usual, working tirelessly on my bottle top collection and stopped to look up for no particular reason. That's when I first saw the thing. And maybe we could stop there and have a discussion. What did he see? What could he possibly have seen? And this is it. This is the thing. Now, I think if I was reading this one to a class, I wouldn't show them the illustrations. I would just read the text, because you hear a different story when you listen to it to when you look at the illustrations. He is an unusual illustrator, this particular person, Shaun Tan. The illustrations, yeah, they're very strange. But this is about him trying to figure out where this lost thing should be, who it belongs to, but he's also finding a place for himself as he goes through it. And there's just so much detail in these images. So he goes to his friend. I took the lost thing over to Pete's place. Pete has an opinion on just about everything. I'm trying to find out who owns it, I told him. I don't know, man, said Pete. It's pretty weird. Maybe it doesn't belong to anyone. Maybe it doesn't come from anywhere. Some things are like that. He paused for dramatic effect. Just plain lost. So it's quite abstract in many ways, this particular story. But in the end, he does find where the lost thing belongs, and off it goes, and he's very happy that he has found a place for it, and he goes home to his bottle top collection. So life returns to normal, and he says that's it, that's the story. Not especially profound, I know, but I never said it was, and don't ask me what the moral is. I mean, I can't say that the thing actually belonged in the place where it ended up. In fact, none of the things there really belonged. They all seemed happy enough though, so maybe that didn't matter. I don't know. And then he says the way as life goes on, he starts to notice these things less and less, and he's not sure if it's because there are less of them or because he's just stopped observing them. And perhaps we can make a comparison there to, as we grow up, perhaps we see things differently, or we don't notice the things that we did notice when we were children, or how things can change in our importance. And there we have another strange illustration at the very end. So I would imagine there are certain children in the class who are just going to love this. They're going to find the illustrations fascinating, and they will pore over those illustrations and will probably love this particular author. It is definitely, I think, a senior class book. This is another one by the same author, The Red Tree. This one here is about hope and hopelessness. So it's about this character here, and sometimes the day begins with nothing to look forward to, and she's looking for something to look forward to. She's looking for something nice in the world. Things go from bad to worse. This is a very visual book. There's very, very little writing in this book, but again, you can see the bizarre illustrations. And she says, darkness overcomes Yusuf. This is this author's illustration or representation of what depression or hopelessness looks like for this particular character. I can tell you that in the end, it does end up okay, because suddenly there it is right in front of you, bright and vivid, quietly waiting, just as you imagined it would be. So we have hope in the end, and we have a positive outcome in the end. Again, very, very unusual, very visually unusual book, and again, a senior end book, and certain children will find this fascinating, and it'll be too abstract for others, but definitely well worth a look, just to be careful that it is maybe a sensitive topic. And the last one, I didn't realise the size of this book when I ordered it. So same author, and it's about Eric. This one is about cultural differences. So in this one, a little character comes to stay, and here he is, and he's only tiny, he's only that big, and they called him Eric, and there's lots of funny things happen, and he's looking at things and that they can't understand. Well, why are you interested in that? Surely you want to come and look at this. And the things that he's interested in, the things that he finds interesting, they don't, and they can't figure each other out, and they don't know what's going on, and so on and so on. And then eventually they wake up one day, and he's gone. Took a little while to realise he wasn't coming back. And when they go and they look in the room that he was in, they find all these treasures, all these wonders, the things that he found really interesting. And in the end, they put it down to, it must be a cultural thing, says Mum. And again, if you were, looking at people belonging, and what's interesting to me is different, it's not interesting to you, and so on, and who we are as individuals. I think that's an interesting one for the senior end, but maybe try and get the large version of it. But again, he's an unusual author. I think these three would be very interesting to do a comparison between the three, compare and contrast, or look for similarities and differences between the three if you were to look at a particular author. And because the illustrations are so unusual, and because these are topics that are that little bit more mature, I think these particular books would be wonderful for the senior end of the school, the 5th and 6th. And this author has other books as well. These are just the three that I have at the moment.